Three, two, we are live. Jim, it's good to see you.
Great to be here.
Buddy, it's Monday, February 23rd. It's episode 3. I can count. When was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wasn't school just so awesome 20 years ago? Well, maybe for you, 50.
50 years ago.
When did you graduate from grade 7?
Grade 7 were the 2 happiest years of my life.
Is that when you met your wife?
No, that was when I was held back. No. When I graduated grade 7, I started school in 1964.
So 64, so you're 59. You're born in 59.
Born in 59, that's right. So I know that's probably going to make you lose a lot of viewers right away. But
that's what I love about you, because you're older than me. So we have old viewers and older viewers.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing: the schooling system was a lot better in some ways back in time. So
yeah, I'm going to figure out how to put the panel on here somehow. I'll figure that out. I'll get my guy to figure that out. I just want to get all the people's comments on here. Hi, Prairie. Some people are saying hello. Good to see people. Comments are here. Show comments on stage. There we go.
I've got breaking news that relates to what happened with Barry Newfeld, the trustee. He's fighting back.
Let's just get into it. Go for it.
Okay. If it's all right with you, Andrew, just to start off by saying, here's the guy that stood up for the right for children to grow up normally and naturally, which means no one's trying to recruit them for any deviant sexuality. So he's a good guy. He's never said anything to me to indicate he's unhappy with people who are bisexual, transsexual, homosexual. He loves people. He's a great man. I'm the same way. The two of us were just worried about the indoctrination that's happening in school. So he was hit for having an opinion, as you know, that was out of step with people in our woke institutions, and was given a fine essentially of $750,000. But I just learned today that his lawyer is taking that decision to what's called judicial review, which means that it's got to meet certain judicial tests for the decision to stand. So it does put the judge, and in this particular case, the commissioner of the BC Human Rights Tribunal, on the hot seat. And so good on Barry. He lives in a trailer park. He doesn't have a dime to his name because he's already lost 2 suits, but he's sticking to his guns. He's a man of deep principle. And I think he's a great Canadian hero. Again, he's never had an ill word to say about any group of people. He just simply wants to protect children's right to grow up as we grew up, which was people not inquiring into our sexuality or encouraging us to consider that we're in the wrong body.
Yeah, fantastic. I actually have some history with Barry. As a foster parent, I've done a lot of work in the school systems and through the Ministry of Education, Ministry for Children and Family Development. He actually used to put on some workshops, and we've done workshops together, not together, but I've gone to some of his workshops. He's been to some workshops that I've been a participant in. And, I always, I always kind of didn't like him because he looked like Santa Claus. he's an amazing guy, just a fabulous man that, like all of us, like all the men I know that have conversations with me, we're all on the same page. We're logical thinkers, right? We're not emotional thinkers. We're men. Nothing wrong with women, nothing wrong with men, but we're definitely of the logical people. Again, I go back to some of these friends that I've had for decades, my whole life, just Xing me out on social media, telling me that I should be more a libertarian and just go with the flow, and that's okay. And if anybody that knows me well knows I have many gay friends. Not many gay friends, but I know a lot of gay people. I don't hang out. We don't like phone each other up and say, let's go play football, because that's just not what I do, or they do with me. But you know, we go to the nightclubs. You know, I have no problem. They're always trying to hit on me. I guess they think I'm good looking or something. I have no. It's the It's not the looks. It's just the energy that I give out. I love people. I love people. You know, with the first drag shows in down on Hornby Street, Hornby and Davie, down by Drake, there used to be an underground drag shows. This was before it was a big thing in celebrities. I was there. I got invited. I went. I was absolutely mortified. I was terrified. I'm like, what are these men doing? I had no idea what was going on. I laughed because it's not my thing.
I've got something here that I think the listeners might find interesting. So I had a father who made the gay community across Canada very angry with him in the late 1970s, because what he did is he authorized a raid on bathhouses, because back in the 70s, people who were homosexual had nowhere to go. I mean, it was they had very few places to go, so they ended up having what they're called bathhouses and so forth, including for sex. And they were just not allowed. Did your dad help raid them? No. So my father was the time the Attorney General and Solicitor General of Ontario, and he was asked by the Toronto Police Chief, you know, about this, and he said that there's something he should do, because they're worried about some of the practices that people back at the time didn't think were acceptable, like golden showers. So I won't go into further detail. But but what his kids did, because many of us were of age, understood it, and we said, Dad, why? These people have nowhere else to meet and to be together sexually. Why is that a bad thing? And it was an interesting evolution. A wonderful father, but he was the person, and very proud of that my father in 2003 made the decision, for when he was Chief Justice of Ontario, to allow people to get same-sex couples to be married by striking down the old legislation. They didn't make new law, but striking the legislation. My father. So my father was by the Globe and Mail. He was named Newsmaker of the Year in 2003. So so my point is, he did an evolution that I think all of us have done. That I'm old enough anyway to remember when, you know, people only were intolerant toward people who were outed as homosexual, to being very accepting and understanding that we're all different in who we love and what we do with our lives. The problem, again, with Barry Newfeld is, and with me, and I believe with you, is just leave kids alone. And so the problem with that, I just, you know, whatever my views are, I don't think that I would want to, I would ever think of manipulating children into having adult thoughts and doing things, and particularly the changing of the body. And as you know, there are kids that are doing things. I've seen girls with chest binders, and knowing about kids across hormone drugs.
This is just like,
I mean, it's in the school system.
It's in the school system. We got to figure out how to get it out, bud. It's just ridiculous. You know, we can talk. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, I was good
interrupt, but it's just. My mind has gone squirrely in the past couple of weeks, because of course I'm in the drug thing. I'm in, you know, I went out with one of the police people, the big bosses of the VPD last night. I met with Mayor Ken Sim on the weekend. I'm moving and shaking, bro. I went with the kid, when the mayor went out with this, you know. We got to figure out how to stop it. I think that's the biggest thing. We have a special guest coming, and I'm just waiting for him to come in. He's a parent from Tumbler Ridge. He doesn't understand how we kind of got here, but he definitely has an idea of what's going on in Tumbler Ridge. And I know people have questions and stuff. So just so if anybody knows, there he is right there. Oh, there he is right there. So we're going to let him in, and I'm going to introduce him. He can introduce himself, and let's get on with it. Monty, my man.
Good day. Good day.
We've been hanging out so much now, we're like on the screen.
Yeah, I know. This is weird. Not in person. I don't know what to think of it.
Bro, you're an amazing man. I want to say first to all the viewers, or I don't even know how many people are in here, but I want to say first and foremost that as a result of this crazy government we have, I've had the opportunity to meet some really strong men. Because before all of this craziness in 2019, I think we were all kind of dispersed everywhere. There's people everywhere around just Canada, just sort of lost in their own little groups. But now that this shitstorm has happened, and it really is a shitstorm, I'm finding some strong men, and I just wanted to say, Monty, I'm really appreciative of meeting you. And as you said when I was leaving town, this is going to be a relationship that we've created here. So, Monty, without further ado, do you want to introduce yourself? Let the viewers know who you are, why you're here.
Well, I don't know, Drew. You invited me.
Who are you? You're from Tumbler Ridge.
So I guess, yeah, my name's Monty Hendrickson. I'm a self-employed contractor up here in Tumbler Ridge. I had 3 kids that went to that high school and just got shot up. 2 of my 3 were there that day. And I'm a hockey coach in the community. I guess I've been kind of the go-to guy for a lot of these kids with the problems they've been having. I've been talking to a lot of their parents and a lot of the other people just involved that need someone to talk to, and like damn near know everyone involved in town.
Yeah.
I've been the electrical contractor here and mechanical contractor for 5 years on the side. And then the last year, I've been working at it full time.
The electrical company left, and when they left and shut down, you kind of became the town electrician, correct?
Yeah. There wasn't anyone ticketed in electrical up here, so there were some electricians at the mines, but nobody doing anything in town, eh? So I just started helping out people and decided, okay, well, I should probably get paid for my time. So then for about 5 years, I had a full-time job at the mine, and I was doing that on the side, and 3 kids, and just got to a point I had to pick one or the other, and contracting won and mine lost.
But your heart is with the kids, because I see there's some pictures. There's some pictures behind you, and you're not a hockey player, but you became one moving to Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, I did. I was actually grew up racing competitive off-road dirt bikes, and I came from the Okanagan, where there was plentiful of dirt bike racing. Never even sat foot really in any skates, so been on ice, but not with skates on. So
I gotta watch you skate. Are you a good skater?
I've recently graduated from pylon to moving pylon now.
I love it. We have a term for football players in football. If they're not really good football player, we just call them pylons. So that was actually quite funny. Monty, let's get into what's going on in Tumbler Ridge for everyone. So there's a lot of questions. I've been getting tons of static to me. They want to know what's going on. I don't feel comfortable talking about that stuff because, of course, I'm not from there. But one thing that was really blew me, Monty, can you press mute when you're not talking? Yeah, that's awesome. And then when you talk to her on, just lots of background with the kids, which is awesome. A couple of days ago, I thought to myself, because I saw this girl, she's in the hospital, of course, in Vancouver, fighting for her life. And I thought to myself, you know what, maybe I can do something, maybe I can help out. So I reached out to both you and another friend up there and said, is there anything I can do? And you kind of told me that you know that family. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on in the hospital with our loved one here in Vancouver that's fighting for her life, and the mother that's here doing the things that she's doing? It's really quite an awesome thing.
Well, I guess we'll start off with how we know them. Her and my youngest daughter have been going to schools since they've been going to school. Mm-hmm. In kindergarten, and then they've been on the same hockey teams since they were about 6 when I think I started my youngest. And even the weekend before, my wife and my youngest, we took Maya down for a hockey tournament in Prince George and had her all weekend. And so I guess we're pretty close to her. I mean, I don't know how many times I spent the night at our house, but it's been plenty.
It's like your second home. Remember when you were a kid, Jim? Back in the day, you just run over to your friend's house, and your mom would be like, "Where's that Jimmy?" And you'd be like, "Oh, he's over at Johnny's. He's sleeping there." Because it's just how it was. How it was in the big cities, but it's gone in the big cities now. And I loved when I travel a lot. I love going to the small cities and meeting families, because that small town Canadian atmosphere where, you know, you can leave the doors unlocked, you know where your kids are going and coming, you know, the friends. It's really quite an awesome opportunity for the Canadian folk that are still around, not in the big cities.
Yeah, so Maya's been seeing some good movements and then some retractions, and it's kind of been mostly forward movements we're seeing every day. I know Sia was getting overwhelmed with people trying to reach out, people wanting to help, and this and that. So I think the last 3 or 4 days, I don't think my wife's had much contact with her because she's just been so overwhelmed with stuff. So we just kind of
give her space.
Just been keeping up with the Facebook updates more now. So
okay, awesome. Can we talk about what happened in this? They were going to have this funeral. You know, one thing that a lot of people are out there on the internet talking about, and one thing that I know quite a lot about with the police and the RCMP, and Jim can speak on this too, maybe. I'm really disappointed with the senior RCMP because they're not. They couldn't create this safe place for a funeral to happen. It doesn't make sense to me. And everyone's asking, you know, well, do you know who did it or what happened? And I think some information has come out now. And correct me if I'm wrong. It was the biological father of the child that passed that was going to have the funeral that made some threats to someone in the family. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
It's funny to me how the police and the RCMP, like, there's still got to be like 100 cops up there, is there not?
No, there's not anymore. I'd say we're down to. So, put in perspective, normally we have 5 here.
That's right.
And it's between 2, 3, or even 4, depending on what's going on, is on shift at a time.
Yeah.
So I think right now we're sitting around 10 or 12.
Huh.
So we're a little over double what we normally have. I'm pretty sure that's what we're still at.
Do you know any information about more funerals that are going to be coming, or what are they going to? Do you know what the plans are? I guess everyone wants to know, what are the plans? Are they going to have one, or are they going to have short, small ones? Do you know?
The one family I'm not really close to. I'm not sure what they're doing. I know Abel's not. They were going to do something little here. Actually, I think they did that already before they flew him out to Zimbabwe.
Yeah, and that's just so sad. The whole family was here. They immigrated to Canada, and they just want to get out of Canada. I'm finding.
They don't. That's where he was born. He was in Zimbabwe, so they don't want to bury him here where he wasn't born, and he spent most of his life there. So
yeah, it's just tough. I hear this from a lot of new Canadians that have come here, and there was actually some crazy. There was a very lefty girl that is now in Vancouver, and she's complaining it's blowing up all over social media because she came here because she's gay, and she came here, and now it's too expensive to live here, Jim. She figured it out. She calls herself a academic scholar. She's a university professor.
Yeah, lots of MK Ultra.
She's come here because it's safer, but she wasn't smart enough to actually figure out how much it costs here and how much money she has. And now she's on a campaign to raise money so that she can stay here. It blows me away. Monty, what was it like in Tumbler Ridge 10 years ago compared to 6 months ago? Is this pride thing, this LGBT, this ARC Foundation that created SOGI? Is it that big in Tumbler Ridge, in the schools? Or
I'd say the high school, it's the most prominent place.
Uh-huh.
that you see around town. You don't really see it here anywhere else. Like the whole community center is pretty neutral.
Yes.
I know a
The
couple
city
years
hall.
ago, a couple of us got together and were um, calling out the books that got sent into the library, or that the library, I said, brought in. They were pretty sexually explicit books for kids of 10 and under. And so a group of us had actually rented the books out, and we brought them out to the front and the walkway in front of the road, and we're showing parents walking by, hey, this is what they're trying to show your kids. You know,
Jim, being a
Yeah.
school teacher, Jim is a school teacher in the high schools. What was it like, Jim, like actually seeing all this information? I mean, I went into schools and did a lot of community work in athletics. So I was always focused on getting kids physical and doing things. Um, but was it like this crazy, like all this books and stuff? I saw it a lot in the libraries. First came in the libraries, then it came in the school offices, and then it just sort of went through the hallways. That was my. What is
Well,
it like, Jim?
Monty might know the most shocking book is called Gender Queer, with the illustrations of boys giving each other fellatio. I mean, it's as bad as you can imagine.
okay, yeah.
Talking about
I forgot
sex
what it was called.
and but there's novels as well. But Monty, if I may, just I'm a nobody except for in my own little world, which is I'm taking on the school establishment across Canada for indoctrinating kids with regard to race and indigenization and sexuality and the land acknowledgements, all sorts of things. And so the question, if I could just ask you this one question, and again, that's why Andrew, I have a following on X and so forth, and Andrew is paired up with me because I think he recognized I'm having some influence. And please, you don't have to answer anything I say, but if I ask you this one question, was the fact that that Jesse was said to have been on cross-sex hormones, was the whole fact that was going through a process of transitioning. I hear from the newspaper from age 11 or 12. Do you think in any way that's part of it, or people down in Vancouver are mistaken?
So, a couple of things, Jim. I'll kind of fill you in with that. So, from what I've heard from the family, he wasn't transitioning from the age of 12. It was more in about the last 3 or 4 years. So more around the age of 15-ish, I think. Yes, I do think it had some playing factor with the hormones, kind of giving them extreme kind of thoughts, I suppose you say, or being able to fuel it. And pairing that up with the recreational drugs that found out he was also taking probably really escalated that.
So one of the things, appreciate your candor, but one of the things that that he said, apparently, and this was in many sources, that he wasn't happy with how it was working out for him, that he wasn't happy with the effect that it was having, how he was looking and so forth. Have you heard anything about that? You see, one of the things is you just seem like a regular guy, which is why you're friends with Andrew. But I mean, you're just a regular guy who just says things as they are. You've got a good sense. You're a family guy. You're a community guy. We obviously both agree that, in areas of sexuality, whatever, it's, why go after the kids like the Pied Piper? Let's let them get older and come to their own decisions. So I don't think we need to go through that, because I think I'm looking at a soulmate. But I'm just trying to understand myself, and many people in Canada are as well. Once you start turning a kid down that path, it so often starts because someone at the school or someone in a family is saying, well, you're depressed, therefore, why don't you consider that you're in the wrong body, and maybe this will help you. But the reality, of course, is that it just makes kids in many cases more depressed and more mixed up.
Yeah.
And so I'm just asking there, and you already answered the question, and so I'll, but was it a factor? And you said that you believe that it was.
I believe in this case it was. I mean, I'm also finding out that just in the trans community, the suicide rates are like at 40%.
Yeah, this has been something that's been a known fact for a few years now. And it's interesting working with kids for many, many years. I've got a different perspective on this. And if you have children, you just know the difference between black and white or red and blue. It's extremely it's so easy to influence your children. I can influence my kids, no problem. I was actually sitting down last night with my 20-year-old at Cactus Club, and we were having a conversation about stuff. And I said, "I'm sorry I lied to you so much." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, growing up, there are certain things that I couldn't tell you, and there are certain things that I could tell you because I had to protect you from things until you got to a certain age where you kind of woke up." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm going to ask that question now." And then my kid would ask that question. And then I'd be able to go, "Okay, is he ready to take this question on? Is he ready to hear the answer?" But the problem is, and I think it's the biggest thing, is this ideology word. There's so many parents out there, and please correct me if I'm wrong or you think any different. There's just so many people in the big cities, Monty, Jim, that they're working. There's just so much. They're having such a tough time financially. They've got to work. It was the 70s with the feminization of women, the feminist movement. Everyone goes to work. And now what's happened is everyone's working and they're not parenting. And they're trusting because as Jim is old and I'm old and Monty's almost getting there. When we had kids, parents had no problem. We knew the schools were safe. But this was introduced so fast, and kids, they're not able to ask the questions to their parents because they're too busy. And they don't have that family value anymore of having conversations at the dinner table every night at 5:30. You don't get those family trips to have those things. And today, they're getting all the information from the schools because they're asking questions there.
The schools, if I just say, and Monty would know about this, but the schools are quite secretive about this.
Oh,
particularly maybe not Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah.
Monty, I went around to some schools in Surrey in 2023 when they're drag queens performing. And I go around the parking lot before school was over asking parents who were all there to pick up their kids, "Are you aware there's a drag queen in there performing?" and so forth. And none of the parents knew. Now, one of the problems when you live where I do in the Vancouver areas, you can have a school, there's very few white kids. So a lot of the kids, whether Punjabi or Muslim or from China or whatever, the parents are not into this at all. So there's a really big divide. So the secrecy, they say, is to protect the kids. "Oh, we know your parents will hit you and hurt you and disown you and so forth." They find out. So we're going to make it our own little secret. And so that made it even more insidious to me, is the idea that a lot of the stuff that's happening with these kids that are vulnerable and that they're trying to sexualize, and in some cases, of course, transition, that they're keeping parents out of the picture. And so I don't know if that relates to the Justine's family or whatever. Obviously, it was a mixed up family. It was a single mom. I just learned today that the older brother's being arrested by the police. So I know there are lots of problems there, but the worst thing you can do is remove parents from the parenting of children. And particularly if a child is transitioning, that's something a parent damn well has the right to know. And I had kids in school that I would be calling one name, and then the school would say, "But when the parents come in, call that child by a different name." And
whoa. Jim, did you just say what? Did you just say that? Like the actual school system would tell teachers that?
Yeah, you are supposed to, in the school system, you are supposed to call the kid by the name that the child wanted to be called. So I had a boy, and his name was, I can't remember his regular name, but let's just say it was Stephen. And he wanted to be known as Cedar. And so I'd call him Cedar all day long, every day. But when his parents came in for parent, teacher, or whatever, everyone was going, "You make sure you call him Stephen." And so it was really created a secret world. And this is the thing, is they're saying, this is the expression that my grandchildren know starting in kindergarten, is "my body, my choice." And so this is idea that nobody, even parents, don't have a say in what's happening. So it'd be in a perfect world where there are no groomers in the school system. So again, Monty, you're the more important person to listen to here. I'm just someone who's an activist who's having some success. as is Andrew, in pointing out that they're taking advantage of children, and sometimes it's leading to really horrible consequences, like you said, with the trans community being a 40% suicide rate. So thank you for listening to me.
Oh yeah.
It's,
And it's you know, just even seeing some of the homework getting brought home, and it's like, what are you guys doing learning that? Like, what's the use of learning that frickin', what was that, when Chris Rock slapped that guy on the face on stage that one year, and it was, or got slapped. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock across the face, and they had to do up like this article and write up on why, and it's like,
yeah, Will Smith's son wears a box of a box on his head that looks like a house at fashion shows. If we take anything those people say seriously, they're so far removed from what the reality of people live in. It's if you ever been down to LA with all the big movie stars in Hollywood, and I've been to Hugh Hef's house a couple of times, is a whole different world of dystopia. It's just dystopian. It's just the things that happen in those groups of very
yeah, we're learning more and more about it every day.
Epstein, right? It's all this stuff is just so transparent. It's starting to become transparent when you read. I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the past week, and if you're in listening, I really want to exemplify the fact that if you need to reach out to me, reach out. I take all the information in, I dissect it, I put it in. I've now hired an investigator to go through all the information, what's happening in different schools. I've been talking to a single mom that's got a child in grade 2 in a school in the Okanagan, Monty, actually in Vernon. And she's showing me videos and of the inside of the school. I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time communicating with words because it's so, it's hard to say what I've seen, and like the eyes, the brain, the mouth, like it's so weird. I can't even like spit it out.
Can't even describe it, eh?
It's on the walls. Like it used to be like in 2023. 2022, it was like, okay, I went into the schools and there was some rainbows and there was some weird stuff. Then I go to through the library to go to the back gym or the back plane area. I used to bring these NFL football players, yet I bring them into the entrance. These guys from the US, bring them into the entrance, secretary. Hello. Okay. Yeah, Andrew, no problem. Walk through the library and outside. And these guys are like, bro, what's going on in Canada? I mean, they are a young guy, like 23 years old. So, he's LSU player. He's a super awesome kid, but he doesn't know. He's not 30 years old yet. He doesn't understand what's going on, but it's just a mess. And today, these things that are going up in, do we know how to get rid of this, Monty? This SOGI 1, 2, 3? Do you know how?
I've got some thoughts, but
Yeah.
probably not something we'll discuss here.
Jim, you know how to get rid of SOGI 1, 2, 3 in these schools?
Yeah, when you said the ARC Foundation worked with a lot of people, including the teachers union and a lot of transsexual and rainbow groups. I mean, it was a lot of activists. So this was not something that was done with parents. The very first thing is you should just say there needs to be a review of it and get parents involved, because it would disappear in a hurry.
This is the ARC Foundation's website. So this was created in 2007, the society, and the ARC Foundation look at this, the educator, the student.
But the guy in the middle was the president of the teachers union.
Yeah. He's
his name's Glenn Hansman.
As a past teacher and former president of the BC Teachers Federation, I have had unprecedented advantage of witnessing the positive results of the ARC Foundation's work. The resources and support given to teachers through SOGI 1, 2, 3 enables them to feel confident in their role as educators when discussing SOGI topics, which in turn provide positive impacts on the students they teach. This is what I don't understand, Jim. Like, bro, let's just say, Jim, there was definitely like There was gay people in my school. There was women that were like, they like women. I mean, I'm 53. We knew who they were. Sometimes they would go and have sexy sex when all we're having parties and the two girls are over there. You know, the guys disappeared. No one talked about it, but you know what they were doing, you know? And I think that these people like this teacher, this guy here, and these people that are now in power, they've sort of come up, and I it's just my opinion, they were those gay people, or they were the bisexual people, and they rose in power, and they want to protect the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% of the kids that are gay, and it's just gone so far off script.
That's a great point, Andrew, because they're not helping the 96 or 97% or whatever who aren't that way. I'm focusing all the time on alternative sexuality.
It's like the 4% of the Aboriginals in Canada.
That's right. But that's a good point. But you're also not helping those kids as well, because they don't want to be having everybody know that they might have, you know, different thoughts in their head. Why anyhow? It's just so wrong to be sexualizing children. But what Monty may not know, Monty and Andrew and I were talking about before he came on. So there's a trustee that began fighting against this indoctrination of children all these different ways, but particularly with regard to recruiting them, very openly recruiting them. What teachers often do is a pizza and pop for free at lunchtime, and they get these kids that really mixed up, and then they think, well, maybe your problem is that you're just not understanding what your true sexuality is, and have you considered this or that?
Yeah, grooming them.
Yeah, and so this guy, what's interesting here, this guy again was just given an almost $1 million fine. He already has lost 2 court cases. So he lost a third with the Human Rights Tribunal, Barry Newfeld. And the picture we just saw that Andrew showed was of the BC TF, the teacher union president. That guy sued Barry Newfeld and won because the teacher union put $1 million behind him. The same teacher union that has abandoned me, even though I was a teacher forever, and I'm suing them, so they're going to lose in the end. They just don't know it yet. But anyhow, that guy's part of it. But he's gay himself. He's an activist. He's somebody that is wanting to queer the system because he wants the system to look like and be like him. That is absolutely outrageous. Whatever my sexuality is, or whatever my philosophy or politics, I have no business manipulating children. And that's what's happening here. So once again, just for the audience, Monty, you believe that the fact that Jesse might have this transitioning and identify himself as a transitioner, that this didn't make it easier for him to deal with what he probably already had, which was mental illness.
Yeah, I think it made it more difficult for him. Yeah. I mean, it just, you mix in, he's still developing as an adult.
You tell you're 25.
Yeah.
23 for girls, 20. We're late. We're older. We're late.
Most males, I think myself, is definitely in the category of about 27 when your brain starts finishing developing. And I mean, that just throwing that kind of hormones into your body, it's got to mess with you.
Monty, before you bounce, and I know you got to go here because you've got kids on the ice and you've got to get back to coaching, and I want to thank you so much for coming on. Before you go, did you know Jesse, younger, grade 6, 5, 4, 3? Did you know the family?
I knew the family, but I didn't know Jesse. Mm-hmm. He was always kind of quiet.
So he was a quiet kid.
Not really out. I've talked to his grandfather quite a bit. His grandfather said that he was actually a nice young boy till about around the age of 13 when puberty started kicking in.
Well, when it all hits for us, we go crazy, us guys.
Huh, yeah.
As women, I speak for us. I can speak for us because I'm a dude. I got Slingy and the two nutties beside each other, and that's just, men are just completely opposite than women. As we always joke about Monty and I, we're logical, they're emotional. It's just different. I still don't understand why I learned that and why I just said that. Oh, men men mature at 25 and women do at 23. Well, it's a matter of fact, it probably takes women longer because they're more emotional context and structure in their brain than men, because we're just logical. It's like, it's this hole fits in this hole, but you know, if you're putting a plumbing together, right? Okay, that elbow goes into this, and then you've got to get a connector. We know how to do that, but women will look at it and go, oh, well, why is that? Why do those go together like that? It's just different, right? So I would think women are a little bit later than men. Maybe I'll write a DSM-7, Jim, if anybody doesn't know what the DSM is.
Well, you know, Drew, I've seen some people just never grow up.
Oh, there's a lot of them, eh? There's a lot of them. Monty, listen, I really want to thank you for coming on, and prayers out to you, to the families that are dealing and grieving in their losses. But you know, the biggest thing and the takeaway too, when I went to Tumbler Ridge and when I left, and I know a lot of people across all the small cities across BC, there's a lot of strong people out there, and we're going to get through this stuff. God bless you, Monty.
Absolutely, guys. Jim, it was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Monty.
And
Great
now I got to
pleasure.
go out there.
God bless. I wish I was at a football field, because I'd hurt myself on the ice. God bless, Monty.
God bless.
Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing, eh, Jim?
Well, he said something that just to shut up every single person in this world who's pretending this has nothing to do with the boy taking these drugs. And you know, the grandfather saying at 13, up to 13, before hormones, puberty struck, he was a nice young guy.
It's just
my point, the kids, teenage years are tough on all of us. Don't throw drugs in, folks. And then in his particular case, they're throwing, you know, drugs to do with mental illness, drugs to do with, you know, the transitioning into a woman. I just think is absolute cruelty.
It's really strange, you know, like I go back to my grade. I mean, I had a very unique family, 7 children. I was number 5. So I can clearly remember my oldest brother getting into trouble for using his girlfriend's car. She had like a Cougar, drunk, you know, ripping up the neighbor's lawn in a drunken, pissed off rage. You know, my other brother, you know, stuffing acid down my throat. He gave me acid. I was taking acid. I did acid when I was in grade 5. They put acid in my throat, and they didn't make me eat it. I took it because it was a peer thing, right? Well, they're doing it, so I better do it. And I did it. And I can still remember, like, all of his friends, they were all laughing at me because I guess they were watching Animal House downstairs, and I was coming down the stairs, and this is how drugs fuck you up. I'm walking down the stairs, but I guess I was walking like this, and I got to the bottom of the stairs where it's a flat ground, and I kept walking like this, and it just looked funny because I couldn't conceptualize like parallel universe, like I was completely somewhere else. And that's where how it was in the 80s and the 70s too. The 70s was a little bit different drugs, but the 80s, that's when a lot of the chemicals came in. I think the 70s it was more natural, other than LSD, but the 80s, that when the chemicals came in, and then we went to like natural. It was all about smoking the natural marijuana. It's good, it's okay. And now all these fucking marijuana stores, all that those are all chemicals, and the kids are smoking the marijuana, they're smoking the vapes, they're eating the gummies. Now you get a kid like Monty said with Jess. I mean, I don't call him Jesse. I just say Jess for reference, because I don't want to differentiate like the whether he wanted to be called part of the time a girl or a boy. So Jess is just a dude's name to me. That's why I just call him Jess. You get a kid like that that's just a quiet, calm kid, maybe reserved, you know, maybe not the testosterone 8-year-old that's running around with ADHD. It's just a calm kid. And then all of a sudden there's a lockdown, right? We got a lockdown. And then these kids that are a little bit, you know, quiet, like my own son that I adopted, Newt, he goes to school and he gets told, you're going to go to this. That looks funny, eh? You're going to go to the handicap class. Don't worry, handyman's here. That's me. That's what they used to call me. I'm handyman. But then goes to this classroom where there's another kid that I'll never forget. His name's I'm not going to use his name, but it's a little dude, and I thought he was a girl. He looked like female, just because I got a girlfriend from elementary school. She was more of a dude than she was a girl, but she grew up into a very beautiful woman. It was horrible. It's horrible. And then you get these stupid teachers. Like, I didn't realize that, what's his name? Glenn is gay. You were saying, is Glenn gay? This past guy, he's a gay man. I don't understand, Jim. I don't understand why. It's really fucking hard for me to understand that people allowed this to happen. Parents, I wouldn't let this shit happen to my kid in elementary school. I'd take him out. I know there's a lot of parents that have taken people out. And if you're listening and you have children and you want to put them into a private school, there's a lot of these private schools popping up everywhere. There's one in Prince George, for instance. It's a church. They bought this. It was sorry. It's a dental office. They closed it down. They've just turned it into a school. And they teach a curriculum. They have a teacher. They pay the teacher. Everyone pays a little bit of money, and they don't have to go to public school to listen to teachers talk about, are you okay today? Is there anything wrong? Oh, Johnny, do you know what those rainbows mean? Those rainbows mean that, I don't know. Do you honestly think, Jim, that there's teachers? Did you see teachers actually like helping kids understand that they could be born in the wrong body? Or have you heard from teachers?
But there were clubs in every high school and middle school in Canada. They have these clubs, the Gay Straight Alliance, the Rainbow Club, all sorts of names for them. They operate in every school because one of the things that they're really working hard to do into both the teaching ranks and to administration is to bring in people who love differently. And again, I don't have a problem with that, but some of them are very active in getting kids to identify with them. It's an awful thing, but I love the comment they said, marijuana causes schizophrenia in some kids. So Andrew, if I could just have a minute here.
Go, please.
Who the hell I am. I'm just a regular guy. I had a father who was, I think of note because he's a politician, CEO, Chief Justice, and various things. I'm just a regular dad. Now I have 3 kids and they worked out fine and they became lawyers and they're doing fine and so forth. One of them was cutting himself. One of them, or him or herself, I won't identify who. One was had obsessive compulsive disorder, and the third one had bulimia. My point is, my kids were very fortunate in the genetic inheritance that they had and so forth, and that they were able to make it in this world, and they're making this world. Now, who knows what tomorrow is going to bring in the form of a challenge. But they still had, they had all sorts of problems. They had problem with confidence. They wanted to quit things. They didn't believe in themselves. They never thought they'd compete. They weren't good enough for this or that. And when they met failure, they were very quick to sort of think that, it was something they couldn't do and they would never be able to do it well. One of my daughters failed her driver's license and twice, and then said, that's it, I'm never going to learn to drive. I'm not going through this again. And I had to trick her to get her out to do it a few more times. She eventually got her license. Kids in their teenage years are going through so much. Everybody knows that. So why the hell would you want to add drugs to that? So we're not just, so no parents making conscious decision. Hey, kids, drink. Some kids drink. Don't go and smoke marijuana. Some kids do. But my point is, why would they allow a school system to encourage kids to transition? The very idea of doing anything that's going to involve drugs or physical mutilation and ultimately sterility with children. Let adults be adults, but damn it, don't mess with kids. That is our sacred and trust, is that kids can't do it, man. I'm a guy with 7 grandchildren, and the youngest right now is 10 days old. Man, that kid is dead in a minute if the parents aren't watching every move. His older brother could come and stab him with his finger poking in his eye. I mean, the whole time he could fall off the table. The whole time you got to watch over these little beings and make sure they grow up safely and healthily. That's what happens in schools too. That's what teachers have to do more than anything else, is you can put everything aside. You have to make sure kids are safe at school. They're not safe if teachers are convincing them that they're in the wrong body. And I'm absolutely convinced, and so was Monty, the parent that you had, that this was a factor in the murder of a number of school children in Tumbler Ridge. But even if it wasn't, even if it only was a factor in the destruction of Jess, that's enough to say, what are you doing? Leave drugs out. They used to give all, you mentioned ADHD. People say, I have that. And give kids Ritalin and stuff. And my point is, we don't do that anymore. We're cautious about that. And my father, my lovely father, in later age, he suffered from depression. And I think that's really led to his death. They were giving him drugs for his depression. They were giving him drugs for anxiety. He was giving him drugs for pain because he had hip surgery and various things that never got right. And then, damn it, my dad couldn't sleep at night, so he took his own barbiturates, and then he was a heavy scotch drinker. My father, man, he could have been a walking drugstore. All the stuff that he had on. We made him as a society into an addict. And now everyone's saying with old people, you walk into any old person's bathroom, you open up their medicine cabinet, and it's just full of drugs. Damn it, that's not a good idea. And I'm not saying some old people don't need this drug or that drug. I'm saying the fewer drugs you take in life, particularly when you're younger, the better off you are. So why the hell are we introducing any dramatic change in a child's being? Let the child get out of childhood.
When I went to when I got my contracts ended and after 21 years of making 21, I still get PTSI. 21 years of having foster kids in my home, 976 placements in my home, and I think of all the kids that have come into my house, and so many of them. I can remember this one kid, Dev. I think there was a magnitude of medications he was on. He ended up leaving the house after, I think it was a short-term place, but it was a stabilization thing and he ended up leaving, and he calls me dad. He's got a father, he's got a biological father, but he calls me dad, and he calls me all the time, and we have these talks. And sometimes if he calls me and I don't answer, Bright gets pissed off, and he'll send me asshole messages, because that's the relationship we have, right? Because I believe truly that I saved his life, but I also truly believe that he saved mine, because we have such a phenomenal relationship. But that kid, he always talks about how much medication, he was on. And when I left fostering, I went and did my schooling to become a mediator. And a lot of people in the school, in the university, they said, oh, you should be an elder mediator, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I've got something going on here. I better listen to all these people that are in school with me. So next thing I know, I started, giving out business cards, and I probably had maybe 24 clients, families, from 2022 and 2023, about 24 families contacting me, parents, people our age, Jim, 50s and 60s, with parents that are 80 and 90. And I'll never forget my first client. I mean, this is like a $40 million estate home in West Vancouver. And I walked in and I thought, everything's going to be fine. They've got a maid, they've got like house service, they've got cleaners. I mean, they've got the Bentleys. And you walk in and you sit at the dinner table, and dad's normal. Like dad's like, he's had back injuries, he had neck injuries, but dad's sitting there and he's drooling. He was like drooling. And I, after dinner, we went and had tea and crumpets in this other little room. It's a beautiful home. But I'm like, so what's your dad's like medicals? Well, he just had back injury, and the doctors just keep giving him more drugs. And now he's on so much opiates that he's not present, and we can't tell him to stop, because the government, God bless the government, right? The government steps in and says, well, he has a right to what? To stay high? I mean, I left the hospital in 2008 after a major back surgery on 6 different types of medication. They had me on, bro, Jim, they had me on uppers and downers and diuretics and things to help me go poo because I had a spinal cord, so I wasn't going to the bathroom. I mean, I had every type of drug you could imagine. And I got out of the surgery, and after a couple of days, I asked my doctor Dvorak, he was the head of the spine clinic, is the top number one fucking, you know, Dvorak. Do you know Dr. Dvorak? He just passed away last year. God bless him. But I'm like, why am I on so much medication? You got to tell me what every medication means. And it wasn't like 3 weeks later that I was off of everything except for, unfortunately, the opiate that I was now physically dependent upon. It's really sad. But you know, Jim, if we can, you know, just the medication, it's just got to stop.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't say, if I may, Andrew, and that is every medication, this is again an obvious point, but sometimes people forget it, has side effects. So again, when you are compounding medications, which already have compounding side effects, and you think you're helping children. So I just want to talk about, just very briefly, if I may, about the argument against Barry Newfeld. So what they said to Barry Newfeld, that's right, if you want to give me the hook, Andrew.
Giving you the hook, bro. I'm just letting you, I'm learning how to use this.
I've gotten it many, many times. But this is a valuable thing, Andrew, that I think to say to people. And that is, what is it that they're saying Barry Newfeld said? Because he didn't say anything wrong. He has no case against transsexuals of any age. That's not his thing. He just is against the school system for a time as an elected public official, school trustee. He was against the idea that we were introducing those ideas to kids because they weren't good for kids. So what the argument against him is that he is two things: that he is hateful, that he doesn't believe that trans people even exist, that he denies their existence simply because he's saying, no, there's two sexes, men and women. There's no such thing as a transsexual. And there really isn't biologically. I know there are some people who are, could have obviously the characteristics, sexual characteristics of both, but it's a very rare thing. So there is that binary. But Barry never denied the existence of anyone. He's just so this idea they turn the language against you. And the second thing is about Barry is this idea that he's out to promote hate. How can you? Some person wrote to me today, said up until 1985 or so, maybe up till 2015, every single person in Canada believed there was only men and women. And every once in a while you get a hermaphrodite, and the woman casting, and who ran the 400 meters and was very for Brazil and whether male or female and so forth. And the female boxers that had their gold medals taken away from them in the last Summer Olympics. There are some people who are not in one category or the other, but everybody else is. So John Cleese, the comedian, said, look, it's that simple. There are people with a Y chromosome, and there are people who don't have a Y chromosome. That's it. That's two types. This is our biology. So this idea of saying to kids in school, as they all do, there's 95 genders or whatever, and it's always growing, just like the LGBTQ plus, an acronym continues to grow. My message, I'm hoping that that anyone that walks away from me will not see someone, same with you, Andrew, someone who hates any group. And I was in a situation a few years back where there was a transsexual, a guy who was dressed as a woman and so forth, and down in the east side of Commercial, bit of a rough neighborhood, and I reacted slowly to it. But there was a bunch of guys, obviously recent immigrants, who were rough with him and taunting him, and he quickened his pace, or she quickened her pace, whatever you want to say, and quickened his pace, and I was watching this, and after a few seconds it clicked onto me that here was a person walking the streets of Canada who was being harassed by other people. And I got out of my truck and and went toward the person and looked at the other person, gave him a dirty look, and caught up to the person and just said that, I'm here if there's any further problem. I mean, like most Canadian men are like that. You protect anybody that needs protection. And if anybody, which is a disorder, believes that he or she's in the wrong body, then as an adult and they make changes, then God love them. And that's an expression they use all the time, Andrew. So it's not that. It's the idea of going after children. And that's what Barry Newfeld did, is he protected children. And damn it, they give him a $750,000 fine for doing what every single decent person in Canada should have done long ago, which is to say the kids aren't ready for this. Don't even go there.
This doesn't make sense, Jim. This SOGI 123, the British Columbia website. If you have time, friends that are listening to this, I know it's really difficult. It's difficult for me to go through it, but I did go through it. And I mean, just look at the picture of the lady with the really short hair, and she's a learning burst. I guess this is what they did when they, what does it say? This is insane.
It's pretty shocking if you look through this stuff. And until you're getting that, if I may just fill the dead air for a second and say,
it doesn't make sense, buddy.
Why we're not getting the volume, or
did you not hear it?
I didn't hear it. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. It was like he's a gay man, and he's very happy. He was very happy, and he was explaining how he was in a classroom full of very smart, educated, wonderful, safe people. And there was a bunch of people around the table. I think one of them had very red hair, and red hair wasn't from. That person wasn't from Ireland at all, or Scotland. It's just come too fast. Jim, I know how to get rid of SOGI. Do you know how? I know how. I've had some conversations this week, and that just blew me away. Like, because I see the problems, right? And I've always been a person that I'm a football player. I'm a defensive player. I'm a linebacker. So I see an offense. I see 11 dudes all doing something completely different in order to have one thing happen. So a football game, right? If anybody wants a football lesson, a football game, I always tell the kids, how long is a football game? And when they're little kids, this is how I teach children. This is one of my things. How long is a football game, kids? Kids are like 8 years old, 9 years. They're like, hours, because we have to sit there with our dad. I'm like, actually, a football game is only like 3 to 5 seconds, sometimes even 7. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, just a football game is when like the quarterback gets the football, either hands it off or he throws it, and everyone's doing something different. And then when that play's done, that's one football game. And in a football game, in a 2-hour-long football game, you actually have 90 of those plays on average, right? So I always try to like figure out why those offensive players are doing that to us, and why it's just a back and forth thing, right? So ever since this Jesse thing's come up, and I haven't really been part of the whole against SOGI thing, and it's not that I'm not against, I'm against it 100%. That's my position, 1,000 billion %. I've just been dealing in my own sphere with the addiction crisis and the genocide that's happening to our own people in Canada that nobody talks about. Nobody's talking about the dozens of people every month in every province across Canada that have been dying since 2017. We're not talking about that. We were talking about it, then we stopped, and now we're focused on kids. Oh, wait a second, now we're going to focus on Mexico, and then we're going to focus on Venezuela. There's so much freaking information. But anyways, sorry, just went off. The problem is, how do we get rid of SOGI? So a very important person, a government person, basically phoned me on the down low, and he's like, hey, Andrew, I know how to get rid of SOGI. I'm like, how's that, buddy? We have to bring new people into the school district into the school trustee position. So you've got to get elected as a school trustee. Now, every district, how many districts are there, Jim? Do you know how many districts there are?
There are about 90, I believe.
91. It's about 90 districts across British Columbia. Because I know there's a number 91. I think it's Seychelles. I think I could be wrong, but it is 90, just like a football game. Bro, this is a football game. This is how we're going to take SOGI out. We got, oh my God, there's like 90 chances, just like a football game. We have to get enough people to get into those school board positions. Now, once you're a school board trustee, it's the school board trustee that hires or fires the superintendent of that district. They take the information from the school board trustees, that board, and they tell the superintendent what needs to be taught throughout. Now, that's how they got SOGI in. That's how SOGI was implemented in. So the money came in, and I have some people in here that have said some names. I can't, where were they back here? There was a couple of names. Someone in the chat, if you're still here and you're still listening, you threw some names in the chat. If you can throw them in there again, that would be great. These people donated money. They don't, and Jim, if you know, they donated money to the ARC program. That money went, I don't know how it filtered to certain people to become elected officials, but I know as a person that has been thinking about becoming either a city councillor, MLA, or MP, and I have been seriously considering running. I've been trying to figure out, well, how do you do that? Well, you've got to have a lot of money. You got to have a lot of people behind you. And this is how people are controlled. So these people get into the school board trustee positions. Robert Quartermain paid. Here we go. So Robert Quartermain paid for the ARC program, whoever Robert Quartermain is. Newton, do you know who Robert Quartermain is?
Yeah, I'm getting lots of interesting things from this, the hat thing. One of them was that tried running for elected office. I've done that too. It's hard to get into elected office, but certainly that is one way you can do it. I'd say as well, just doing what we're doing. Getting parents to do something about it, getting everybody's connected to school children, whether it's your nephew or your grandson or whatever, your cousin's daughter. So everybody has to go and just say enough is enough.
Here we are here.
You're right. Obviously, if we could elect more school trustees, but it's hard because it's big money. All levels of politics is big money.
So Robert Quartermain has basically funded, and I'm allegedly, I'm going to use the word allegedly because I don't want to get sued, allegedly put a lot of the money in to create the ARC program. I don't know why I haven't done a deep dive on him. Thank you for that information. He's part of the elite gay mafia. I love that.
But Andrew, if I could just say, it's in every province. SOGI is only really in Alberta. It's trying to get into Saskatchewan and Manitoba. But it's only really in Alberta and BC, and they have the same thing in Ontario, the same thing
it's
everywhere in the Western world, right? Pennsylvania became the chief electoral issue. So it's all over the Western world. Yes, so I would say, obviously, that guy had a role in it, but
he just had a role here.
That's right. So to me, that's right. So to me, the big issue here is that what we all need to do is to go back to, and I love it when you keep on saying, going back in time and how it was. We used to be in schools.
Beautiful.
We used to talk about what was in the best interest of children. And as I've said before, what you do in a court of law, you only make decisions, particularly in divorce, of what is in the best interest of a child. None of this is in the best interest of a child. And when I'm also reading here, we've got the elite gay mafia. You do have a lot of mafias. And I lost my teaching job because of another mafia, which is the reconciliation mafia. But whatever it is, the race mafia, all the people, there's a friend of mine who committed suicide, a principal in Toronto named Richard Bilkstow, because he got beat up because he was making the argument that Canada wasn't more racist toward Black people in the United States. My point is, you've got all these mafias in our society, all these people who want to, I would say soon there's a Muslim mafia. I mean, there's lots of people with their ideology and beliefs. Yeah, that's right. There's all these people, and some of them are legitimate in a sense. I mean, people have belief systems, nothing wrong with it. But what you need to do is you need to put walls around a school that are thick enough to say you can only bring your ideas into the school if it's consensual. So you can bring great literature in because we know there's value in great literature. But you can't bring in some filth about like gender queer where you have illustrations of boys giving each other blowjobs or girls cunnilingus, to showing that to kids. And they've done that. They've done that in schools right across Canada. So I think many of us are on an agreement here. So I just, again, coming back to Barry Newfeld, is this idea of what the left does in this. And I know the right used to do it, about when the left was more sane. But what the left's doing right now is trying to discredit anybody who has a sane view. Barry Newfeld, there's nothing about him that is racist or that's transphobic or that's cruel. He's just a guy who wants to protect children. And so I'm so proud, Andrew, to say to you, because I know you appreciate tough guys, this is one, he's not 255 pounds like you or whatever, muscle at 6'4". He's a small 80-year-old guy living in a trailer park, but he's not giving up. I don't know where he's going to get the money, but he's enlisted a lawyer, and he's going again to judicial review to defend himself, but more importantly, defend the idea that you don't manipulate or exploit children for any advantage. So,
yeah,
anyhow,
no,
I know you work with a lot of tough football players, but I'm telling you, I played high-level rugby, and the toughest guys in the field, Andrew, were often the smallest guys, because they had to be, how the hell do you stay out in a rugby field with all these big guys like, bodies like you out there? And I'm telling you, that's Barry Newfeld. So he's lost 3 big lawsuits. The second one went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada.
He's going to win. He's going to win, Jim.
But he's going to win in the end because he's holding his ground then, because he's got the higher principle. He's doing what's right.
It's all about
doing what's right for kids, man. What could be more important than looking after our kids?
Yeah, it's 100%. I mean, it's just the reality, that the unfortunate reality we're in. I lost a very high pay. I gave up. I walked away from. I got taken of like all my contracts. It's like 6 digits a year. Like I did a lot of great work with thousands of children. Thousands of children went through my care, my responsibility. The ministry gave me that responsibility. I hired the safe people to work with those kids, the most vulnerable in the fucking province. I had kids come from Prince George, come down to my resource, one of my resources, because I had that name. And I used to have the authority, Jim, to call the police. I still have the authority to call the police and do a police, like I can do that. But today nothing's going to happen. If I see something on the street, I used to call the police. I remember distinctively in Safeway on 4th Avenue in Kitsilano, a mother just giving it to the kid, just fucking giving it to the kid. The kid's like 6 years old, 7 years old, just giving it. The kid went to they went to a different school than my son's school. I called the police. It was just my word. The social workers were there, the probation car 86 it's called. So there's a probation officer, there's a social worker, and a police officer. They all ride in one car. They removed the kid. Kid was gone for 3 months. Guess what happened though? Guess what happened? As a result, the mother got the support she needed. She was going through a very stressful time in her life. She got the support she needed, and that kid went back to mom. The kid was put in a safe foster home. Sure, it wasn't the best, but the mother got the support that she needed. Today, if we call someone, we're going to get in trouble. I'll like,
that's exactly
how dare you?
If you want to intervene, can I just, one thing that we were wanting to make a point of doing with some of these beautiful comments, I'd love it if you'd read them, but there's one in particular, if I may, saying that there's a Megan Sky Phoenix who's talking about Barry essentially committed blasphemy against a new state religion. And so that's a really powerful thing, because what Barry did is, again, about using language, the Orwellian, war is peace, ignorance is truth. freedom and slavery. It's this idea of diversity is university, inclusiveness is exclusion, and so forth. Equity is inequality. So, but this is beautiful. So we've created a system, coming back to Barry and the whole SOGI thing, is we've created a belief system. We need to work so hard to make a certain minority, very small minorities, like 5 in 100,000, who really are dysphoric, and make them feel safe in the school system. But by doing all this SOGI stuff, we're just embarrassing the hell out of them. And then we're twisting the minds of all these other kids. So what Barry did, of course, and what this woman's saying is she's not being literal. She's being figurative. What she is saying is that it isn't blasphemy at all. The blasphemy is a state religion that's pushing early sexuality onto children. So I don't know if you want to read more of these. They're beautiful.
Yeah, it's just there's lots in here. I'm like I said, I'm new at this whole like stuff. I wanted to do like the last moving forward next week and moving on for friends. The last 15 minutes is going to be a question and answer period, and we're going to bring up some of the comments at the end of the conversation. And I've got a guy that's working here with me that's tagging some of the comments. I give him some like do hand signals, like he's right over there. I give him some hand signals, he stars it, and then we can bring them in at the end. And again, thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the super chats. And I'm going to be selling some t-shirts. I've got a really cool t-shirt coming, Jim. You're going to love it. All right. I sent it to you. Did you see it?
I'm sorry. I
bring them home. It's a t-shirt. It's an orange t-shirt. It says, bring them home.
Well, that's lovely.
Bring the kids home. Bring them home. That's like, you know what I mean? But anyways, here's this. I've got some really crazy. Do I even show this stuff? I don't think I'm going to show this stuff because I've gotten those pictures from Vanderhoof and from Vernon of what's going on in the elementary schools. I think I'll do it. I'll do it. Hey, Frances is here. Hey, Frances. She's awesome. All right. My girlfriend's here. About time she showed up. It's late in Calgary. Thanks for staying up for us, Frances. Next time you want to come on in.
Is there any way that we could connect Frances right now, communicate with Frances, or get her to write what her comment is on what's happening with Barry, that he's going? You see, the one thing that Frances said to me, she's been an incredible source of inspiration, is she said, you don't give up. You try and get a precedent, and you help other people. And so this idea that there's incredible boldness and determination. And I think Frances would be very, very proud to know. She's saying what she had to have my schnitzel and orzo. Ouzo, I guess, the Greek booze. But she must be very proud that Barry, this is his third loss, and yet he's still standing, and he's going to judicial review.
Frances, just a second, Jim. I just sent Frances an invite on the email.
But you see what she just said? Never give up. That's the advice she gave to me. And that's what Barry, and that's it, guys. Don't give up. If you're doing something that's right for society, and that's the same with Frances. Frances is not giving up. There are no kids buried in Kamloops. Let's move on. Let's stop condemning Canada as a genocidal state.
Yeah. Jim, and let's what happened here last week, and we're going to end and land the plane here in about 7 minutes, friends. The Kamloops residential area there, they've basically come out saying that they're now not going to dig at all. Did you read this? They're not going to dig anymore. They're just not going to. Have you seen this? Yeah,
well, they can't. And I've said this to anybody, and I'll argue with anybody. They can't dig because there are no bodies there.
Well, they can do an excavation.
They can't do that because there's nobody in Canada, including me. I know Frances disagrees with me on this one, but my point is this: we're not wanting to embarrass Indigenous people. This would be a terrible blow to Indigenous communities across Canada if everything, because it was everywhere in Canada where they're saying, "Oh, we've got unmarked graves and we're digging." They haven't found anything, of course, and they're not going to find it.
Hey, Jim.
So I think they're going to turn the page. That's my view.
zip. I got a bag of zips. Let's go back to the SOGI thing. Let's stay on track with what's going on in the schools. We know that fight, and it's important to let everyone know to fight your fight. And the best way to fight your fight is just by speaking the truth and without letting anybody know who this lady is. We've got her. The power of the internet. The power
Francis,
of the
get
internet.
back here.
She's coming. She's coming. So
Where is it?
Francis, we want to hear your you're awesome, girl. I love you so much. God bless you, Francis. God
No,
bless
it's
you,
wonderful
girl.
to have you.
It's like she's a lion. She's my lion. She's my lioness lady. She's my lioness
Okay.
lady friend. Francis, you heard
Yep.
about what happened with Barry and stuff. Can we talk about it?
Sure,
We're
yeah.
just- what do you know? What do you got to say about this fine? What do you think? Have you met Barry? Do you think he's
I've
gonna
not met
fight
him.
it?
I'm connected to him. I'm aware of his long-standing battle. I think it's great. Like it shows the insanity of these human rights commissions, which have to be abolished. They're just absolute totalitarian entities, and the fact that they've done this hopefully allows people to understand what we're dealing with here. So although it's a terrible situation in the sense of the initial thing, but it's like the battle and the war. You know, the battle is lost, but the war is still there to be won, and because it's so ridiculous. And
What a beautiful thing to say.
so, like,
The war, the
bring it on,
battle
bring it
is
on,
done.
you totalitarians. You know, it's time to just duke it out and expose everything that's been going on for the last, I guess it's 20 years that this is the culmination of 20 years of increasing.
My friend is in Puerto Vallarta, Francis, right now. Dan Dix with Press for Truth. If anybody doesn't know Dan Dix and Press for Truth, please check it out. He's on X as Dan Dix PFT, and it's an amazing guy. But he was down at a conference in Puerto Vallarta when all this stuff started popping off right outside of his hotel. And I kind of feel like what you just said, Francis, maybe they're just a little bit behind. The fights, the war is done, but the fight, what did you say? The war is done, but the fight's got to continue. Like the judgment.
The battle is lost, but the war is still there to be won.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
I
a minor
think
step back in a larger.
I think we're seeing this everywhere. I think we're seeing this everywhere, and right now in Mexico, where the battle, they know they're not going to win against the U.S., and there's going to be some shit that's going to be coming up soon for the cartels down there, because it's just it's a travesty. It's a travesty what's going on.
Just say one quick comment, and Francis would probably agree with me on this, that I think the $750,000 penalty, which is so obscene for a man that's on a small pension and trailer park,
50,000 is
doesn't have any assets. 750,000. So, but to me, Francis, it's a positive because they overplayed their hand.
Yeah, that they overreach. It was a massive overreach. Well, they've been getting more and more arrogant as time goes on, and now, well, the tide is turning on the trans issue.
Yes,
like, we're all going to Montreal in March.
I'm not going
to fight against the penises in female prisons. They got to get the penises out of the female prisons.
Yeah.
You
hear about that kid that Billboard Chris talks about, like the dude that went to jail when he was 16 for M, and he transitioned when he was in his 20s. Now he's got breasts, so he moved him to a female prison. He was charged for M to a kid. He ended a child's life, and now he's in a female's prison, right beside the female's place where they have children in the jail. And now supposedly, allegedly, he's assaulted a child there. Yeah. And this is the Canada that I didn't ever. Our foundation in Canada was always like, we were always the strongest. We always were talked about, on D-Day and the heroes and how strong we are, and Canadians are strong. I think we are. I think we just haven't rised up yet.
Well, the prisons, the prisons has really gone under the radar because it's the most vulnerable and marginalized people. and who don't really have very many advocates. And the sports, the men and female sports is a more of a boutique kind of issue. And so I'm really glad finally this issue about the prisons is come to the forefront. And to me, that is the most horrible of all the outcomes of this crazy trans issue, all these issues to do with trans activism. And so hopefully we'll make some serious headway on
kids in jail living with their parents. And I know actually 2 children that were in prison with their mothers. I couldn't, those spaces in jails and women's prisons where mothers have their children, they're the unbelievably safe place. That's amazing. The amount of supports that they actually get with their children when they get the opportunity to have their children in jail with them. It's such a safe place. But today, because of this transgender SOGI 1, 2, 3 ARC program, it's just gone to the absolute pooper.
Yeah. If I could just say one thing that Francis would find interesting with Barry, I communicated with him a couple of times in the weekend, and he helped me. I mean, like you, and I don't stop saying this to you. You were wonderful with me almost 5 years ago. Well, so was Barry, and he helped break my story. Went to Rebel News, and then Drea Humphrey came and interviewed me. But that was Barry Newfeld, and I've given him money and gone out and chatted with him in Chilliwack and so forth. It gave me great pleasure. It's talking about how things are turning in a positive way. I said to Barry, look, this isn't an easy time, but you know that the world famous comedian from Monty Python, John Cleese, was repeatedly tweeting about you, Barry. Barry Newfeld, a week ago, but nobody knew who he was, and now the world knows about it.
Well, there's a great clip, which people have probably seen in Life of Brian, about this, and John Cleese is in this clip where I guess it's Eric Idle who's saying he wants to be a woman, like he's a man who has the right to be a woman, and he wants to have babies as a man, and they're going, how are you going to do that? You don't have a womb. So how are you going to do that? You're going to have it in a box, or you're going to have so the whole thing is incredibly prescient, because it's the logic of trans activism, which is,
there it is.
Yep, there we are. And there's John Cleese. There's John Cleese right there.
I gotta figure. Can you hear it?
No.
Oh, you can't hear it. It's just, I'm gonna figure it out for next week. I'm sorry, but
I
there's
want to be a woman.
I want to be a woman. I want to be a woman. Call me Loretta. John Cleese. Walk this way.
30, I don't know when. I can't remember what year Life of Brian was, but
1979.
1979. So 40 years ago, I guess. Like, that was comedy. 40 years ago, that was comedy, and now that's reality.
Hate. Now that's hate. That's actually hate now. If Jim and I were to put some cloaks on and sit there outside the art gallery and video stuff, taking a picture and video is making jokes about that, we would get fined $700. Well, I mean, I don't care. They can do whatever they want to me.
It's coming back to Barry's decision there. That's fantastic. Like, for me, all these things, all these ridiculous struggle sessions and legal processes, the great thing is you force people to write down what they're thinking, which they're very reluctant to do unless you get them in the court setting, and then they have to do it. So now we've got this decision, this absolutely insane decision that the whole world can see. And until that happened, we didn't have that, and now we do. And so, Barry, congratulations to you. You've drawn out these crazy people and got them to put their thoughts, which no one can take seriously, on paper. And we will fight you to the end of our days to get rectified.
I want to be empathetical to Barry, but I honestly think I met Barry. I've known him for 2 decades. I've actually known the guy for some time. He's probably sitting there laughing a bit, like, as much as hard as it is for, the stuff that he's going through. And God bless you, Barry, if you're listening. If I was, I go through it with what happened to me with my contract, with my life. I sit back and laugh, and I laugh because God bless, and we're going to end here quick. I laugh because of this, because never in my life would have I ever thought I'd be, if I was 19 years old, would have I ever thought in my life I'd be 53 years old talking to two PhDs on a computer through a
They're not worth what they
screen
think they are.
about this absolute craziness. My Nana was she was a nun at Kamloops Residential School. Like, hello? Like, now I'm like, now this is going on. I'm talking to Jim. I'm talking to Francis. I'm talking to Dan. I'm talking to Drea. I'm talking to Dallas. I'm talking to Chris. I'm talking to Linda. I have so many people now that are it's because of the crazy we are getting stronger. And I don't even think we're getting stronger. I think we are communicating to the best of our ability, and people are listening. People are hearing. And if you're hearing, friends, join up, subscribe, like, follow Frances. She does her thing every, was it Wednesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Wednesday, Friday. That's awesome. See, she can learn from a young guy sometimes.
Right, yeah. You gotta have regular content, not just sporadic
stuff. So Francis is putting out a lot of content, which is fantastic. And I learned some things through someone. I'm not nearly as big as either Francis or Jim, but very grateful that they're my friends. So Francis is now putting content out so you can find her at Francis Whittleson, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 p.m. And that's Alberta time. I don't know if it's Mountain time, but check her out, follow her. She goes live, support everything that she's doing. She's had she's got a story, my friends, if you're new. And Jim, bro, we're going to be fighting the fight until we've got white hair, because we both are getting grays.
Well, the important thing is that people need to have the courage of their convictions.
That's right. Do not give in. Do not, like, the visual is the bird with the frog in its mouth, and the frog has got its hands around the throat of the bird to stop the bird from eating the frog. That's never give up. That's the
100%.
That's the visual.
Friends, thank you so much for joining. We will be back next Monday. I'm going to try to get someone pretty big on to the channel next week with Jim and I. Francis, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I hope to get some emails back and forth with you to find out when we're going to our next university. Anyways, everybody, God bless.
Thanks a lot.